Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. Today I will be analyzing the company of Duolingo, which just went public this past Wednesday, July 28, 2021 in the Nasdaq under the ticker symbol DUOL. And already on the first day of trading, it went up 30% from the initial IPO price. As always, my aim with this video will be to give a good overview, a good summary of the main aspects extracted directly from the S1 filing, and then afterwards, if you find all this video or the information in this video interesting and you think that the company might be a potential buy, then you can go ahead and do your own due diligence, which you should do always anyways. And just the final thing, which is that if you want to check out the S1 filing by yourself, the link to it will be down below in the description. Nevertheless, before I go into the analysis, let me quickly give you a short overview of the main topics that I will be covering in today's video. So first of all, I will start with a general introduction to the company, and we will also be looking at some general metrics to understand its business better. Afterwards, I will quickly go into the industry potential and competitors, followed as always by the financials. And this time I won't be comparing it to any other competitors, as I could not find any others that were being publicly traded. And then after this, I will also share the IPO price, the current price, because it already started trading, and of course the valuation, to see if it makes sense, if it is a good opportunity of investment at the moment. And we will also be discussing that. And finally, as always, I will be giving my personal opinion on the company and also my future plans with it. With that said though, and after I remind you that if you enjoyed the video, it would be super awesome if you could give it a like. Let's go for it. Duolingo, in case you have never heard of it before, which I find it quite unlikely if you manage to find this video that you're watching right now, but anyways, very shortly, it is a platform. They have both a website and an app that is used to learn languages, and it was founded in 2011, which is not that long ago. Currently, they offer 40 different languages that you can learn in their platform, and their teaching method is a bit, let's say, different, as they try to gamify the whole experience of learning a language. As often, the hardest part is to stay motivated while you are learning a new language. And by gamifying the experience, what they try to do is to always keep you motivated. That's basically their main goal, is to build the most sophisticated education platform in the world. And so far, the app has had great success with more than 500 million downloads. And not only this, but also they have become the top grossing app in education, both in Google Play and also the App Store. Continuing on the success of the company, actually the term Duolingo is being searched 9 times more often than the term learn Spanish, for instance. And this is something that I extracted directly from their S1 filing. And of course, when I read that, I had to verify the information, so I went to Google Trends, I did that, and as you can see on the screen, what they say is correct. Probably you don't see the exact numbers, but I can confirm that what they say is correct. And then to extend a bit my search, I also compared the term Duolingo to the term Learn English. And Duolingo is still being searched 3 to 4 times more often depending on the day. And what this tells me is that there is already great awareness of Duolingo on the app itself that is used to learn languages, and probably people search directly for the app instead of just first searching for Learn English and then discovering which different apps or options you have to learn that language. The next surprising thing is that according to an internal study that they did, which by the way, whenever you hear internal study within an S1 filing that they also use to advertise the company and make themselves look better, I would doubt a bit and I would not believe exactly everything that they say 100%. But anyways, according to this internal study, people who complete 5 units of Duolingo, or roughly half of one of the courses, learn as much as students taking 4 university semesters of language education, and they do so in half the time. This is what they are stating. My take on this is that if you really want to learn a language, you will learn it, and there will be more fun or less fun methods, but at the end of the day, if you want to learn one, you need to put in the work. Is Duolingo very convenient and also for free? Yes, no doubt on that. Now that I mentioned the part of it being for free, let's talk a bit more about the business model. How is it that they make money? Because actually they operate a freemium model. And this means that for the basic version of the app, it is for free, users can access it and just use it for free, as I said. But then if you want to have more advanced features or also to not be shown ads, then you need to pay a subscription fee model, and you need to pay a subscription basically every month. In the case of Duolingo, the paid version is called Duolingo Plus, and as of March this year, approximately 5% of the Duolingo active users were paid subscribers, which percentage-wise is up from the previous years, as you can see in the graph in the screen. Also, the prices are not very expensive, standing at $6.67 per month if you purchase the yearly plan. And if you compare it to taking regular language classes, it is clearly much more economical. At this point, let's go quickly into other metrics of the business which are relevant. And starting with the average monthly active users, we can see a consistent increase, although this was clearly accelerated during 2020 due to the pandemic and the lockdowns. And then looking at the daily active users, we see that there has also been a substantial improvement, and currently there are around 9.5 million, which is roughly 24% of the total monthly active users. Finally, before we go into the industry and the competitors, they actually have another revenue stream, which are their English tests to accreditate your English level, which can be done online. At the moment, there are around 3,000 university programs in the US which are accepting these tests from Duolingo, and 17 out of the top 20 universities in the US also, which is great. And the positive thing about this test is that it only costs $49, so pretty cheap. It can be done in just 1 hour and you get the results in 2 days. If you compare this with other more well-established tests from other institutions, like for instance the TOEFL in the US, IELTS in Australia for instance, or the Cambridge one, not only this one offered by Duolingo is much cheaper, also much more convenient because you can do it whenever you want and it takes very little time, but also you get the results faster. What is the disadvantage, of course, of that? That it's a bit new still and it still needs to be accepted by many more institutions for it to be much more relevant. But at the moment there are so many people taking English tests to accreditate their level that I think that if Duolingo really manages to have its test standardized on a more global scale, this could also translate into a much more significant revenue income stream. This takes me perfectly to the industry point, as according to HolonIQ, 1.8 billion people across the world are learning a new language, and the total consumer spend on both online and offline language learning represented a 61 billion market in 2019, and it will grow to 115 billion by 2025, implying a compound annual growth rate of 11% over this period. Online language learning is the fastest growing market segment, projected to grow from 12 billion in 2019 to 47 billion in 2025, representing a compound annual growth rate of approximately 26% over this period, and to comprise 41% of the total consumer spend on language learning by 2025. In terms of growth opportunities for Duolingo moving forward, what they are focusing on, or what they will be focusing on, is of course on expanding even more their user base, on trying to convert even more users into paid subscribers by maybe adding more features and so on, and also by expanding into other categories like they already did with the English test that we just commented now. With this growth, however, there are of course challenges, the main ones being other competitors that are in their space. I will not go very detailed on each one of them, but just to mention a few, they have, for instance, Busuu, Memrise, Babbel, Link, Papora, and Rosetta Stone. Not to mention, of course, all the traditional language learning schools, which are, of course, in my eyes, also a bit competitors of them. And also other ones that maybe have different teaching styles, like for instance the company Lingoda, which offers online language courses, which are kind of like classes, but everything done online. Nevertheless, in all of this, Duolingo has a great competitive advantage in my eyes that it should also help it stay ahead of the competition, and that is its brand and name. As we saw previously with this thing comparing Duolingo term with learn Spanish or learn English, Duolingo is clearly associated directly with learning a new language. And probably if you go today on the street and ask somebody randomly which is their first app or platform that comes to their mind to learn a new language online, I would say, at least here in Spain or in Germany, the first one that would come to people's mind would be Duolingo, and that's super positive. That's, to compare it into other industries, that would be kind of like Beyond Meat when it comes to plant-based meat, or within the soft drinks space, the brand of Coca-Cola. With it is time now to look at the numbers and of course the financials, which is the part that I like the most. First, starting with revenues and the income statement, we see that between 2019 and 2020, revenues increased from 70 million to 161 million, which represents an increase of 129%, which I mean it's pretty impressive. Also, looking at the first quarter of 2021, the revenue increase is of 97% year over year, and for the second quarter, they currently only gave estimations because the data has not yet been validated, but taking the lower end of this, it would represent an increase of 43%. It's still a nice increase, but probably lower due to the base effect from last year, as it is precisely when the lockdown started. And breaking down these revenues by stream, 73% of these come from the subscription model of Duolingo Pro, 17% from advertising, which I mentioned previously, whenever you're using the free version you get ads, and then a 9% from the English test, which has seen a massive increase since 2019. Then looking at it from geography, we see that more revenues are generated from the rest of the world than the US, and the difference percentage-wise seems to be increasing, which is good in my opinion, as it shows that they are expanding more and more internationally. Then on the bottom line, we see that the company is losing money. It is not a lot as a percentage from the total revenues, but they are still negative. And the final aspect to analyze is the balance sheet, which as of March this year, it had a debt ratio of 52%, which is very conservative, and this IPO should contribute in improving it even more. Now that we have had a look at the numbers, let's go into the IPO price, the current price because it is already publicly traded, and also the valuation to see if we would be getting a good deal if we were to invest in this company, in Duolingo, right now. And on it, I will first divide it in two. First, we will look at what was the valuation at the IPO price, which was of $102 per share. And then afterwards, we will look at what is the current valuation today, because as I already mentioned, the stock price already went up by 30% on the first day. The IPO price, as I just mentioned now, stood at $102 per share, which was already well above the initial range that they had projected when the IPO was first filed. And then if we take the sales of this past year, 2020, and also the amount of shares outstanding after the offering, also including possible conversion afterwards to be more conservative, we have that the valuation of in the IPO price, based on the IPO price, stood at 23.12 times sales. This is certainly expensive, but more than just looking at the price to sales ratio for the past year 2020, I prefer to look at the forward price to sales ratio, especially since we are already 6 months into the year. And if we do that, I just took the amount of sales that they reported for the first 6 months and multiplied it by 2, assuming that they will be reporting at least as good numbers as they have reported during these first 2 quarters. And if we do that, we get a forward price to sales ratio of 16.6 times, which is still expensive, but not so expensive anymore, given the fact that it is growing very rapidly. Then now doing the exact same 2 calculations, but instead of with the IPO price, with the current one, because it jumped already 30% on the first day. And by the way, I'm recording this in the middle of the week, so by the time I publish it, maybe the price has fluctuated even more. But anyways, at the moment, its price to sales ratio based on the sales of 2020 is at 30.24 times, and the forward price to sales ratio at 21.71 times, which both of these ratios are crazy expensive. So what do I think of all of this, and will I be investing in the company? On it, my answer is no, I won't be investing in it because I don't have enough conviction, and I think that these valuation multiples are a bit too high for it to be justifiable. And also very often what happens with IPOs, I mean, you never know, but with popular ones there's usually a lot of hype. A lot of people get in on the first day because they really want to own the company and so on, and sometimes the price skyrockets, and then as time goes by it keeps going down, and then you can get it later on at more attractive valuation and pay a lower price for it. So for me, as I said, currently I won't be investing in it, and I will be waiting a few more months before I make any decision. But at these multiples, as I said, this is not interesting. However, I must say that the business model that they have is very interesting and certainly very scalable, and if they are able to execute correctly, especially to transform or to transport more of their current active users into paid users, because this is, I think, the hardest part that they have, and also if they are able to expand into other product offerings like they have already done with the English test, I certainly believe that they have a very bright future ahead of them. Anyways, with all of these, remember that they are just my opinions. I am of course no financial advisor, and you should always do your own due diligence and make your own decisions when it comes to investing in the stock market. With that said though, this is the end of the video. These were my thoughts on Duolingo, but what are your thoughts? What do you think? Did you invest in at the IPO price? Are you planning on investing in it? Will you be waiting a bit more? Please let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, then don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're not yet subscribed, and as always, see you next time.